Hey there everyone, it's Joe, welcome back to my channel. Now today I wanted to cover a deck that somebody gave me an idea for in the comments from one of my last videos, and this comes from Joesephyr, who gave me this amazing combo that I just simply had to build something from because it gave me life. Now, you will also notice that my hair is about as dark and edgy as it gets. It's now like a peacocky green, blue, purple, oil slicky realness, and I'm loving fulfilling my merman fantasy at the moment. But just so that you guys know as well, it's actually my 30th birthday tomorrow, so send me lots of loves if you can, because I'm getting older. But anyways, so I just wanted to kind of play with this idea, and I'll tell you the actual combo that he gave me, and I will also leave a link in the description box to the deck list that he posted, as the one that I'm about to show you is very slightly different from what he showed me. So I just wanted to give a big shout out to Joesephyr for giving me this idea, and I think it's really cool. I haven't had an awful lot of time to play test with it yet, but if you guys want to kind of run with this idea and do something a bit different yourself, then by all means go nuts. Now the primary focus of this deck is Onion Knight. In general, just Onion Knight all over the place. But as you see on deck list here, there's 3 colours to it, so you know there's going to be some kind of staple he plays, but because Earth is one of those colours, and the combo surrounds around Magic Pot, which ordinarily I hate. I've always hated on Magic Pot, but there is some really cool plays you can do with it, and it opens up possibilities that can't really be done with any other card, and this is one of them. So the combo in question involves Opus 4 Ramza, Magic Pot, and Onion Knights, specifically the Wind Legendary Onion Knight. So if you have Ramza and a Magic Pot on the board already, and they're both very cheap cards, so it's quite easy to do that, and Urianger adds to the consistency of getting Magic Pot back very easily, and that's a mouthful, then you can play a Legendary Onion Knight. If you pick up a Sage Onion Knight, all the better, because you're going to need to be using his S ability. Deal 3,000 to something, then use the Opus 4 Ramza to give him haste, then attack with him, deal 3,000 to something else. Then you can use his S ability. If he hits, then great, it doesn't matter. If they block it, then do the S ability in response. You then put that Onion Knight on the bottom of the deck, and then go and search for Sage Onion Knight, which will then deal damage to a damaged forward already, which will likely kill something. Then you can use Magic Pot on that Onion Knight to get rid of it, get the other Onion Knight back, which then triggers Ramza reactivating itself because a forward went to the break zone. Pick the Onion Knight that you used back up again, which deals 3k more, and then you can use Ramza again to give the new Onion Knight haste and attack with him again, dealing 3,000 more, and then you have the Onion Knight in hand to then be able to use his S ability again, and if you have the 3rd Onion Knight in your deck, then you can go and grab that, or you can grab a light Onion Knight and just continue attacking. But quite honestly, if anything survives an onslaught like that, that's pretty damn impressive. But so you end up with getting 2 attacks and a one-sided board wipe for practically no cost in resources. It's pretty crazy. And then Ramza kind of is just a decent support character anyway. But anyways, that's enough about the combo. Let's talk about some of the other pieces that are in the deck that I've built here. Now, a lot of what Joseph's deck had was a lot of reactivating backups and forwards, things like Hope and, you know, Scholar or Barrel Eye and things like that, whereas I've kind of come away from that a little bit, just so that the deck isn't entirely focused around that one combo. However, I think that what he's going with is very clever in that if you're keeping on reactivating your forwards, you can attack multiple times with cards like Light Onion Knight, because when Light Onion Knight, God, some of these card names are mouthfuls. Attacks, if you've given him Brave or reactivated him, then you can attack with him because he has haste, then use his ability to bounce him back to your hand and then put him straight back down again, and then attack with him again. So that he has to be able to reactivate himself to be able to use his ability, because it also dulls him. But so you can do that in this deck as well by way of things like Barrel Eye and giving him Brave, which is why Wall is in the deck, as well as Momody as a one-off. So I wanted to make sure that that capability was still there, because once you've got that board clearance down, you end with a Light Onion Knight, and then you can just keep smacking, and then it works really nicely. So, and because of the Wind Onion Knight, you can keep pulling it back to your hand, so you can use it as an S fodder, which is why there's 2 copies of it in the deck. You can end with, you know, you can't use Wind Onion Knight to grab Light Onion Knight because it asks specifically for a Sage, but that doesn't matter because the combo is still there. And if the Sage Onion Knight gets removed, then there's other ways of doing stuff with it anyway. But then we have copies of Urianger in the deck, which is a card that I've been looking to really play for ages because I think the card is crazy good, and he gives me life. but I've been trying to figure out the various ways in which you can do stuff with him, and I think Magic Pot is a good candidate for that. You know, Cactuar is in the deck as well, because Wind Lightning decks typically run Cactuar anyway, and it's a trigger for, you know, it's additional damage at the end of the day. So if you don't have the combos in hand or anything like that, you can always like use it to trigger things like Barbaricia or, you know, Onion Knight, the Lightning Onion Knight, so that you can end up like getting damage through still regardless. And then we have copies, or a single copy of Adele, because I think that a single copy of Adele is just good in any Wind deck, realistically, because it essentially makes it so your opponent's on 6 damage, not 7. Because when you play her, she has haste and she's unblockable. If your opponent doesn't have an answer to them there and then, they're dead. And that's just a great card to me, so I think it would be silly not to run her. We're not running like a full Tactics Advance 2 thing, like we don't have Illawa in this deck, as good as she is, because it's only a 50 card deck, and I wanted to showcase this combo, so therefore I wanted, you know, I couldn't fit everything into the deck. And then we have Alcid in here, as well as a single copy of Rigdia, again, as enablers for Onion Knight, and because the combo is still very, very good to this day. And then we have 2 copies of Barbaricia, because one of the things I like about the combos in this deck is that Barbaricia and Cactuar works until they have a power booster out, because Barbaricia puts their basic power value to 1,000, so any boosters they have out like a Maria will put it above 1,000, so it means that you can't then finish it off with a Cactuar. However, there's not a lot of things that have like buffs of 3,000 plus, so there's not a lot of things that are going to survive Barbaricia and then Onion Knight attacking. We don't have any copies of Orlando in this deck, again because of room, but then this is a basic concept for a deck. I'm not saying that this is perfect or completely refined. I encourage you guys to take this idea and run with it, but I am going to run a single copy of Zemus, because I think that Zemus, alongside cards like Urianger, Rigdia, Onion Knight, and there's a lot of things that work really, really well with him, and he also sets up a board presence very, very quickly, especially if we're running Opus 4 Ramza, who can give him haste, and then that way you play him and he does his thing instantly. Not only that, but he can pull back said Ramza very, very cheaply and very, very easily, and then that can sort of like give power buffs when needed to all of your other characters. And then I put a single copy of 6-drop Ramza from Opus 5 in here, primarily because I wanted an alternate target for Magic Pot than just Onion Knight alone. As much as he's obviously the primary target for it, I wanted a different one, and this Ramza can actually be really, really strong anyway. He's a very, very good card. We do build up a lot of board presence very quickly in this deck by way of things like Alcid Onion Knight, so I think that if you can get that, or if you have a red mage out and give him haste anyway, then he can do a lot of work for you regardless. With the backups, I wanted both versions of Archer in this deck, because I thought Archer from Opus 1 makes it so that damage mitigators like Minwu are less of a problem, because obviously if you see one of those then you're not dealing any chip damage and therefore you're going to struggle to kill anything. And the other Archer I feel is an enabler in and of itself, both when you play it and after you've played it, and it's a great card to kind of play after you've attacked. It's just solid for that, and it leaves a persistent threat on the board so that your smaller guys are more threatening than they seem. And then I've put in Black Mage from Opus 2 and 1 copy of Cannoneer for very much the same reason with Barbaricia. Dropping their power by a large number with Enter the Play effect makes it so that you can do a lot very, very quickly, which is what this deck is designed to do, which is unusual for a 3-color deck. But I think that like having the fun combos and things like that and things to experiment with is where I like to go with my videos. So, you know, I want to give you something that isn't meta, but is something that can, you know, open up new windows for things that could potentially be in the future. And then we've got a copy of Cosmos because it's 3-color, and we want Cosmos in here realistically. And a copy of Mune, because I think that Mune does an awful lot in this deck. I've only got 1 copy in here because I don't like to have more than 1 copy unless the deck is kind of based around that and has a lot of draw power, a lot of this, that, and the other. But I think that because of things like Archer, you know, Gramis, and then Dugultana, you've got searchers in here, you've got the ability to reuse a Shantotto if you need to, you've got the ability to reuse a Black Mage if you want to. I think that it just gives that little bit of an extra edge to the backup line, and it's cheap, it's easy, and it's a nice card. And then Red Mage, because, you know, I don't want Ramza to be the only thing that can grant haste, so therefore, and Red Mage has always been very, very good. It could be really, really good at granting haste to pretty much anything in this deck, like a Barbaricia that's come in and given haste, or like killed something, you can give it haste in an attack. You could give it to Wall so that he can then buff himself if you need to. Like, Wall is something I didn't really touch on very much earlier, but I do think that it's really important to give Brave to things, The 2k power also pushes a lot of the weaker forwards in this deck to over the threshold of a lot of sort of like standardized ones, and will give you an edge over other mono lightning or lightning wind decks, as well as the fact that because it's an earth card, it allows for consistency for the tricolour theme. And then, like I said, we've got Duke Taller and Gramis, which are searches for Alcid and Ramsus respectively. I do think that perhaps there could be made room for more knights, or maybe a bit more FF12 or something like that. Maybe Varn is, I think Varn was in the original deck list. So that's an option if you wanted to do that with Gramis. And then finally, Momody and Shantotto. I think Momody and Onion Knight is a match made in heaven. He turns into a 2-drop hasty double attacker. So if you can clear their board, you can apply pressure. Was not so much applying pressure as literally slamming your opponent in the face repeatedly. And I love that. And I think it's just a really, really cool idea. And then with the monsters, there's only the 5 monsters in here, and I think the Magic Pot is the preferable one to have 3 of. A, because it's Earth and it allows for the consistency more easily, so you can discard it for, say, Momody really, really quickly, or you can discard it just to pay for anything, and then you can always pull it back with Urianger, but you want it as early as possible. And then 2 copies of Cactuar, because again, you can pull it back with Urianger, but it's something that you kind of want from turn 2 to 3 onwards, as opposed to like turn 1 to 2. Turn 3 to 4 onwards as opposed to turn 2 to 3. And then you can just keep going with it, and it can ward things off, and it's an enabler for all of your damage dealers. Like, again, I'd love to fit Orlando in here to capitalise on Cactuar, but there's only 50 cards. And then with the summons, they were very, very simple. I didn't want to run too many summons because there's monsters in here as well, but I think Ramu, because there's so many damage enablers, I've never really been particularly struck by Ramu, but it does do a lot in combination with things like Onion Knight and Alcid. So I think that it does kind of fit in here. And then Diabolos is just a good card. Like, it fits the theme perfectly. It removes things. It can activate, you can use it as a way to activate Onion Knight while killing something. You can remove two forwards off the board. It fits the theme perfectly, so we have to have 3 copies of Diabolos here. It's a pretty hard card to get sometimes, but the card is so damn good and you just want it. So that is it for this video, and it's a nice, funky little deck list for you guys to try, and I will be seeing hopefully a bunch of you guys at the UK Nationals next week. So if you guys are going, then feel free to come up and say hi. And then that's pretty much it from this video. Thank you very much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more news on Final Fantasy TCG, Dissidia, the phone games. There's all sorts of stuff coming up. And yeah, so I shall be off now, and I will be celebrating my birthday this weekend. So I will see you guys probably next week sometime. Thanks very much. See you later.